of the Municipal Affairs Committee and the incoming President of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce. And I'd like to welcome you here this evening for the Chamber's 2012 Mayoral Debate. We've organized this evening's event to provide our members with the opportunity to hear firsthand where each candidate stands on the issues that our members feel have the greatest impact on business growth and economy here in the Fredericton area. The questions we'll be posing to the two candidates here today were developed by the Chamber's Municipal Affairs Committee, which includes representatives from a broad range of sectors from across our membership. Several of these enthusiastic committee members are here this evening, so I would ask if you could please stand up so that people could notice who's sitting on our Municipal Affairs Committee if you're here. Some of us, see, I'm getting no, stand up. Yes. So they've been a great help. There's 3 or 4. These committee members have created a series of questions that will focus today's discussion on the 5 issues that we've identified as priorities for the economic prosperity of our city. I'll now turn the podium over to Mark McKenzie. He will be our moderator this evening. Mark sits on the Chamber's executive and is also the co-chair of the Provincial Affairs Committee. So Mark, if you come join us.
I was waiting for some applause for Dan, so I'm just used to people applauding. So as Janice mentioned, or thanks Dan, as she mentioned, I'm going to try to be your moderator tonight. I'm going to try and keep these guys under control. I don't know if I'll be able to, but we'll do our best. First of all, I'd like to thank, this is a mayor's debate, but a lot of our councilors showed up, or our council candidates showed up for the mixer beforehand. A lot of you have stuck around. I'd like to thank you for showing up, for being here, for meeting some of our guests. I know it's been a busy few weeks, so this is precious time that you're spending to participate in our event. So on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, thank you. We've made an attempt here during the mixer to try and eyeball all the candidates that are here. And I'm going to attempt to introduce you all. So as I say your name, if you would just get up and let everyone see who you are. Shake your head. You're running for office. This is what we have to do. People need to know who you are. If I miss anyone, we'll cover that at the end. And if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. I'm not a professional. This is only my 3rd moderation event, so I'll try the best at the names here. So we'll start with Ward 2. Joe Fisher. Joe, are you still here? Joe. Also from Ward 2, Bruce Grandy. From Ward 3, I believe we have Mike O'Brien. From Ward 5, Gaetan Savoie. From Ward 6, we've got Andre Faust. Is that right? Ian Letourneau. Now, this is my ward, so I should get these right. Ward 7, Charlotte Burho. And Scott McConney. We went to knock on doors, I guess. From Ward 8, Sandy DiCasano. Sorry, Sandy, I always mess up that. Greg Erickson. From Ward 9, Stephen Chase. Almost done. Exciting. Ward 10, Marvin Grant. Ryan Jacobson. These are all from Ward 10. Leah Labat. She left. She was here earlier, I saw her, but she must have left. And Courtney Mills. And second last ward, Ward 11, we've got Misty McLaughlin. And Kate Rogers. She's the one who said she was shaking her ass. For Ward 12, David Kelly. David was here. He left one else, I guess. And Cindy Miles. Okay, once again, thanks for showing up, guys, and thanks for mixing with the crowd. So let's get on to the mayor debate. I think I'll start out with the rules. Listen up. Don't follow these rules. I've got a big stick under here. All right. Each candidate will be given 5 minutes to deliver opening remarks. That'll be in a few minutes. For all of these, every time you're doing an answer, every time you come to the podium, when you have 30 seconds remaining, a member of the chamber staff will raise a yellow card. It's this lovely lady over here. She'll hold up that yellow card. When your 5 minutes are up, a chamber member staff will ring a bell. Same lovely lady will ring the bell. We ask the candidates to respect all of the time guidelines we've outlined. If you don't, I will use my powers of intimidation, as small as they are, to push you away. And I won't let you answer the next question. I'm just kidding. This same allotment and time allotment and procedure will follow for the debate itself, so for each question. After the set question period has concluded, so we have 5 questions, as we mentioned, that we've already set. We'll take questions that were submitted to us during the mixture. During the mixture, we had people submit some questions. We're going to go through those and pick a few, and the candidates will answer those at the end. One note on these: we're going to try and make sure these questions apply to the entire city, as this is a mayor's debate. If they're ward specific or maybe specific to your street, your question's probably not going to make it. So you can ask your candidate maybe that question later on. At the end of the debate, each candidate will have an opportunity to deliver closing remarks. Again, this will be 5 minutes with 30 seconds left. You'll get the yellow card and then the bell when your time's up. Does anyone have any questions about the rules? Okay. Well, then let me introduce the candidates for mayor. I'll introduce both of them, and then we'll be ready for the opening remarks. We'll start with candidate Matthew Hayes. Matthew completed his PhD in sociology in 2008 and returned to New Brunswick to take up a full-time faculty position at UNB from 07 and 08, and then St. Thomas, where he's been an assistant professor for the last 3 years. His Fredericton roots run deep. Growing up, he spent many weekends visiting his grandparents in the city, Fred and Eileen Hayes of Forest Hill Road and John and Marion Hughes of Thorn Street. Born and raised in New Brunswick, Matthew went on to study political science at Carleton University. And while there, up in Ottawa, he worked for the Parliament, both in the Senate and the House of Commons, while a student in the 1990s. As trustee of the Board of Governors, a member of the University Senate, and president of the Graduate Students Association at York University, Matthew held administrators accountable for annual budgets of more than $500 billion, and distinguished himself by demanding transparent, accountable administration.
Someone would say I was demanding.
Currently he researches and publishes on economic and governmental issues and studies the effects of globalization on local communities. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Sorry, I want to do you justice. Mayor Woodside was first elected to City Council in 1981. Sorry, we're dating you a bit, and I apologize. After 2 terms as councillor, he was elected mayor in 1986, serving 5 straight terms before resigning in 1999. He was returned as mayor in 2004, and on May 12, 2008, was re-elected for a record 7th term to become the longest-serving mayor of Fredericton. Mayor Woodside has an honorary Doctor of Laws degree from St. Thomas University. He has spoken many times on the subject of youth substance abuse, including conferences around the world in Israel, France, and Italy. In recent years, Mr. Woodside has traveled abroad Mayor Woodside has traveled abroad to China and Korea to promote immigration. Mayor Woodside began public speaking in his early 20s through the Junior Chamber of Commerce. Oh, good job. Chamber of Commerce. Advancing to join Toastmasters to master his skill of competitive speaking. He has participated internationally in public speaking competitions. That's fun. I'm almost done. There. 2 more points. Resulting in being awarded more than 35 plaques and trophies. That was the best part. Well, actually, this is the best part. He is married to the former Anne Sneed, and they enjoy spending time with their children. I'm looking for some of our organizers. We drew who would go first. Who won that? That was with me, I guess. What do you say, Brad? We'll let Matt go first?
Fine.
Is that okay with both of you? Okay, good. You'll have 5 minutes, Matthew, and when the lady over here holds up her yellow card, get ready to finish up. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you all for being here, and I'd like to congratulate all the candidates for council. Going through this process, this is also my first crack at electoral politics at this level, and I can tell you that it's quite a challenge, and I have a great deal of respect for anyone who offers themselves for public office, having been through this process. And I'm also really excited that there's so much excitement generally in Fredericton about this election campaign. I think that there's a realization that cities are changing, that the cities of the future will be different from the cities of the past, and that decision-making at the municipal level is more important now than it has perhaps been in a very long time. We face a number of challenges moving forward. We face economic challenges due to rising fuel and energy costs on the one hand, and restricted and declining public sector budgets on the other. We face demographic changes that are requiring a new housing stock and new neighborhood types. We're at a phase in history where we also have to be paying attention to urban planning in ways that are different from the past. And we're also facing the impending challenges of climate change, which requires adaptation strategies on the one hand, and on the other, attempts to cut emissions. So these are some of the challenges, but I think there are also tremendous opportunities, especially for a city like Fredericton. There's a chance to take advantage of new green energy sector jobs, which we can incubate here in this city with the help of our universities and knowledge sector economy. We can attract and retain new workers to our community by emphasizing the character and uniqueness of our city. Fredericton is a special place. I remember I have a very distinct memory of Fredericton as a special place that I came to as I was growing up. And I think that we can also continue to build on a tradition here of being a leader in sustainability. And I think we can become even better than we currently are. I think we can do even better in talking not just about environmental sustainability. Sustainability is oftentimes a bit of a catchword. And I think it's really important to recognize not only environmental sustainability, but also the financial side of that. Good environmental sustainability, good urban planning is also financially sustainable. And we need to build that piece in as well. I'm passionate about moving our city forward and meeting these new challenges, encountering these new opportunities, finding ways to work together with people who perhaps in the past have been at odds, bringing people into the city, of bringing them in from the outskirts, but also bringing people who have been excluded from the process in to a discussion about how together we're going to move forward. I have the experience to do this. I have been around politics in one form or another for the last 20 years. I've worked in constituency offices. I've worked on the legislative side in Parliament, both in the House of Commons and in the Senate. I've even worked in the House of Commons in the UK. I've been involved in institutional politics within the university. I think that's an asset in this city. I know how to speak to a university audience to draw them in. And my campaign basically is an extension of my interests, my academic and intellectual interests. It's an extension of my professional work as a sociologist. I care about this community, and I want to make a contribution to making it even better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. No yellow cards. Good job. Mayor Woodside, your turn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd first and foremost like to thank the award-winning Chamber of Commerce for giving us the opportunity tonight to present ourselves at this very important debate, at this very important time in the history of our city. I was born right here in Fredericton at a very early age. I grew up here. I have been serving the community for a long time as both a supporter of community organizations and certainly as a member of the Fredericton City Council, one that I'm extremely proud of. I'll be talking a lot about the record. I'll be talking a lot about the last 8 years, the accomplishments that this city has made. And during that time, I will be as well referring to the councils that I've had the pleasure of working with. I think that the record will clearly state that this city in the past 8 years has progressed. We have grown. We have become prosperous. Our population in the last census is up 10.3%. Ladies and gentlemen, that is more than Moncton and St. John combined. Immigration is up. A lot of people are moving here. They're moving here because there's a desire to live in a community that is truly a community, that provides the kinds of infrastructure that is important to people for wellness. Our sports and leisure complexes on both sides of the river are much more than just rinks. They're complexes where people can get fit, where people can exercise. One of the greatest complaints that I've heard for a long time was the lack of soccer facilities here in Fredericton, where it's the biggest participatory sport, but yet young people were hurting themselves playing on our fields, which we inherited from the school system and tried our very best. We now have 2 artificial turf fields, one on both sides of the river. And it's easy to criticize when we spend money. Is it a priority? Do you need that? Do you need this infrastructure that is so important to the wellness of our community? That's why people are moving here. That's why our population is growing, because it's a desirable place to live. I'll also be referring to sustainability and the environment and the finances of the city. And through the record and through the information that I have brought, you'll find that a lot of the things that Matthew was talking about, for example, climate change, we have the Climate Change Integration Report Card for planners. Folks, this didn't just show up during the election campaign. We've been working on that. And we're one of the few municipalities in the country. We don't follow people, we lead people. The same with sustainability. Sustainability by design. This didn't just show up because there's an election campaign going on. Councils have put an extreme amount of effort with our staff to ensure that the kinds of things that everybody's talking about during this campaign, about sustainability, about climate change, about infrastructure, we've been doing it. We haven't been sitting still for 4 years. This community has grown and prospered and is the envy of communities not only in New Brunswick, but communities across the country for what we've been able to attain, what we've been able to achieve. I've often said, this is a little city that could. This is the city that can. This is the city that did. Growing up here, I can tell you, we were a very conservative kind of place. The last to acknowledge and recognize the greatness of the people and the community that we live in. Not anymore. Other people, provincially, nationally, and internationally, are telling us, you're leading by example. You're doing the kinds of things that communities should be doing. And it is participatory. The Chamber of Commerce, I've had the pleasure of working with for years and years. There are so many stakeholder meetings. Everything that happens isn't decided by a mayor. It's decided with a leader who gets the best out of his council and gets the best out of the community. This issue and this campaign is about leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Now we'll get into the debate portion, I guess. The
Can you please turn on Mr. Hayes' mic?
Definitely.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Hi.
Maybe we'll just-
There we go.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Okay. So question one deals with economic development. What efforts do you think the city should undertake to support local business and economic development? How will these efforts be different from the current approach, and what resources should be dedicated to this issue? Mr. Hayes, you started with the opening remarks, so Mr. Woodside will ask you to respond first.
Thank you very much. Economic development is extremely important to the well-being of this community and any other community. I had the pleasure of being mayor and championing our economic development strategy that was done a few years ago with stakeholders, the entire community, including the Chamber of Commerce. We looked at ourselves and we said, who are we? Where do we want to be? And where have we been? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Coopers and Lybrans championed that for us out of Toronto, and the community came together, and we recognized our strengths and we recognized our weaknesses, and we made the determination then that information technology is the way to go, that we want to be a smart city. Well, in the interim, we haven't really deviated from that path. And we did it because we are no longer able to rely on provincial governments or federal governments for jobs for our children, like was the case at one time. So we wanted to diversify. We have shown that that diversification project and that economic development strategy was right on. Since then, we've become the first community in Canada to offer free wireless, high-speed wireless, the first community in Canada to have fiber optic to every home and business. There have been so many success stories here in the information technology field. Fredericton has its own telecom company. Why do we do that? Because it's so competitive, and we wanted to provide the business community the tool at the right price to be able to compete locally, nationally, and around the world, and they've done it. You have seen in the newspapers across the country the success stories that started right here in Fredericton. Information technology have created a lot of jobs. So yes, it's important to nurture that relationship, to make it as good as we can be, and it's up to the mayor to create an environment that's conducive to people wanting to bring and have their businesses here to provide that opportunity. I think we've shown during the last 8 years that we have done that. You look at the Radiant 6, the Q1 Labs, you look at the people that are doing business here, and look where they've come from, look how they've started, and look where they're doing business. Where they've got one of the greatest qualities of life, with one of the lowest crime rates in the province, with the beautiful St. John River, where the World Health Organization says we've got the 8th cleanest air in the world, water and sewerage, which is the envy, and I can tell you because I'm on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, of communities across the country. Primary, secondary treatment. The federal government's coming out right now with regulations on wastewater management. It's scaring the hell out of municipalities across the country. Why? Because they're putting their sludge and they're putting everything into the rivers and into the streams and into the bays. We don't do that here. We treat it primary and secondary. Our runoff water, our rainwater is even separated from our sanitary sewer. When they come through with those regulations, the city of Fredericton, because of what we've done with our infrastructure, is going to be in good shape. I'm not worried like the rest of my counterparts across the country. This is a huge, huge issue with municipalities that is going to cost billions of dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do it right and if you plan and if you spend your money on infrastructure the way it was meant to be in a responsible fashion, you're not going to be in that situation. That's leadership, and this community has shown with the leadership and with the councils and with the entire community engagement that we selected what we want it to be. It's not the flavor of the month, it's the flavor of the future, and success shows that we have done and taken the right path. Thank you.
Well, I think it's important to recognize that one of the things that has led to a lot of the population growth has been the IT sector, and that the IT sector has been incubated principally by the NRC, the National Research Council. Now, the National Research Council, there's a debate at the federal level about where to put the NRC offices, and they nearly closed the one here in Fredericton. Thankfully not, but they've cut back the budget. That means that we have less opportunity to continue to incubate these startups in the future. Fredericton needs to be making sure that national research money is going out to Fredericton, that it provides opportunities for us to incubate green sector jobs. I think that we've done a lot of work in Fredericton in recent years. We have some excellent staff that have moved us forward in terms of identifying local consumption where we can make changes. Mr. Woodside was talking to me about how some of the lights, for instance, are going to be changed to LED lights. So that'll. There's been a. Sorry. Well, in any case, there's a pilot project on to look at these LED lights, and we've done some good work on the consumer side of it. What can we do on the producer side of it? I think that's the challenge for us, right? So we have an energy economy that is changing now. What are the opportunities for a small city like ours, smart and sustainable, and most especially smart, right, with 2 universities, to incubate green jobs for the future? I also think that we have to pay attention to having a balance between large and small businesses. One of the things that we could do better, I think, is providing opportunities for small businesses to set up in communities around the city. So we're not just thinking about small business as something that's located, for instance, in the downtown south side, but it's located in a variety of different locations. Be that the Brookside Mall, be that the North Side Main Street, be that new communities, for instance, that could yet be built in the Fredericton community, in the city of Fredericton. And I think also that zoning currently prevents a lot of this from happening. It prevents us from having a sufficient opportunity for for small businesses to set up in different parts of the city. We have a very kind of uni-use or one-use type zonage, and we need to be thinking about complete communities, communities with spot zoning for multiple uses. And that's something that Fredericton has fallen behind on, and we need now to catch up on.
Thank you.
You're staying under the time? She's got nothing to do over there.
We want to hear the bell.
Ring the bell. Question number 2 has to do with regional cooperation. The new Regional Service Commission structure will change regional cooperation in the province. As mayor, how will you foster productive working relationships with the other members of Region 11? Mr. Hayes.
Yeah, well, last night Mr. Woodside talked about how he had excellent relations with the surrounding mayors, and I look forward to creating excellent relations with them as well. It's good to be able to build on a strong tradition. There is quite a lot going on right now in terms of regional cooperation, and particularly the province's regionalization agenda. This agenda is focusing, for the moment, mainly on services and offloading services or re-administering LSDs in the communities surrounding Fredericton. I think that there are a couple of other pieces that are really important to this. One is taxation, and the fact that just outside the city's limits, people pay a much lower tax rate than they do inside the city. This is a ball that the provincial government has been bobbling for the last 40 years, and that they need to get right if we're going to have strong urban economies in this province. And cities are becoming more important now. We need to make the case that the regionalization agenda needs to address tax fairness, and it needs to address also regional planning. The lack of regional planning for land use is a big Achilles heel in New Brunswick. It's led to some of the most sprawled cities in Canada. And in a day where public sector budgets are restrained, we can't continue to build cities like that. It costs more money to build cities that are sprawled. It's costing the province a lot of money to maintain bedroom communities just outside the city limits of Moncton, Fredericton, and St. John. I look forward to working with the mayors of other cities in New Brunswick, drawing attention to this and playing a leadership role. Fredericton is the capital city, and I think that the ability to speak to complex issues and communicate it to the public will be a main asset in tackling some of these challenges that we face. And they're complex problems. They're problems. We've got a system right now that provides incentives for people to buy homes outside of the city limits, and changing that incentive structure is going to be really hard and painful. I'm not exactly. I'm not envying the people that are going to have to pay for it. But it's a piece that we need to get right, because if we don't, our cities are going to continue to be stretched out, strained for resources, strained for spending to maintain the infrastructure of cities, and we can't continue to build cities that way. We have to be more sustainable, and sustainability, again, there's an economic aspect to it as well, right? There's an environmental piece, but there's a financial piece. And I think that the case can be made. You can't just offload services to municipalities, to the major cities in New Brunswick. You also have to work on the tax fairness side. And I would be a very strong voice in working on that. Thank you.
That's a great question. And it's one that mayors in this province have been battling for a long time. There is nobody that would like to have a resolution to these kinds of issues any more than any other mayor that's serving in the province of New Brunswick right now. When we talk about what's going on in the outside communities, I attended the meeting that the Minister of Municipalities held in New Maryland. I was the last person to speak, and I was not very complimentary. And when the government does something that affects the people of Fredericton, I'm not very complimentary. I will call it as I see it. They are putting through about 126 pieces of legislation quicker than the city of Fredericton could ask them to give us legislation to ask people to clean up after their dogs. And I made that very point to them. And they said to me, well, the mayors are going to be on this commission. And I said, Mr. Minister, you haven't asked me if I'm going to be on this commission. And quite frankly, as I said then, my dance card is full. I'm up for second vice president of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities that speaks on behalf of 90% of the population in this country. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a big task. And yes, there are people who live in New Maryland and live in Ormocto and live on the outskirts of this city and every other city, and that is their choice to do it. So what do? We have to create the community that is going to say to them, that's where I want to live. I don't want to be in Ormocto. I don't want to be in New Maryland. But I have worked extremely hard as mayor to nurture this relationship, because these are our friends and these are our neighbors. We're related to them. So because they chose to live in New Maryland and not Fredericton is not something that I should say to them, I don't like you anymore. But I've had people that have lived in those communities that have since moved to Fredericton. We built the Grand Harvey, which is opening this year. That's a regional facility. It wasn't easy, and Bruce Grandy is here, was my representative, to go around and meet with all the communities, and it was hostile. It was hostile for Fredericton to go out to these smaller communities and say, we're building something that all of us can use. We ask you if you'd like to participate. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. But you know what? We persevered. We continued to sell the regional concept and how it's good to everybody. And and how it saves everybody money. I said to the mayor of New Maryland during this debate, Frank, you don't want to build an arena out in New Maryland. It's easy. But then you've got to operate it. You've got to maintain it. I said, where we're proposing to build with the small contribution that your citizens are making towards this cost, I said, it's closer to you than it is to the majority of people who live in the city of Fredericton. We've got to get rid of these boundaries that divide us and separate us and work together. It's a small province, ladies and gentlemen. It's a small province. I have, I guess, the luxury of having been here and done a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. That's what I'm proud of. That's what my record is. There's some mayors in this province who are fighting with the communities they border.
You know, Brad,
That's not healthy. I got my time. And that's not healthy. So, you know, the whole point is regionalization. I've been suggesting it and selling it for a long time. I believe in it because we can't afford anything else. We can't all afford to have sports and leisure complexes. We all have to come together. That way we can build greater and bigger and share the cost, because it's 750,000 people. It's like everything that we have and everything we do in this province. We expect it to be so big and so personal, but it doesn't make economic sense. The province, conservative governments and liberal governments have led us down the garden path with municipalities for a long, long time. They keep downloading. They keep doing these things with other municipalities. They conquer and divide. I've worked tirelessly to try and bring communities together to deal with the unconditional grant, but their method of conquer and divide has people that are happy and people that are mad. So it's very difficult to bring us all together. They know what they're doing, but they have not acted in a responsible fashion in the best interest of those at the local level who are in the trenches every day with the people whose decisions impact us. This is the local level of government where the decisions are made that impact the people. So no, I'm not happy with the province. That's not a secret. When they do well, I compliment them. Thank you.
Just want to hear that bell.
Our third question tonight has to do with infrastructure. The city has recently completed an unprecedented agenda of infrastructure growth through building arenas, the transit depot, the conference center, renovations to City Hall. What infrastructure initiatives should the city target for its next investment? Mr. Woodside, you can start.
In the past 8 years, the city of Fredericton has invested in infrastructure. There is no doubt about that. If you look around, you will see it. Back 8 years ago, when I came back, this city was sitting on what I believe to be an economic volcano. 8 years ago, if you go back, there will be people saying, we're going nowhere. Everybody's passing us by. That's the comment. That was the general consensus. So when I came back as mayor and I brought council together and we sat down, we said, you know what? We haven't invested in infrastructure for 40 years. We haven't invested. Now is the time to do it. Now is the time to do it because it's going to do two things. It's going to provide infrastructure that creates wellness and a better community, and it's going to show the private sector that we have come to the table, and I expect that the private sector will reciprocate in the same way, and the community will grow even faster. The money at the time was the lowest that you could possibly get to borrow. So if you're a consumer, or if this is your home, doesn't it make sense to get it when it's at that kind of a reasonable rate? Secondly, the province and the federal government during those years were giving money and participating in infrastructure projects to the tune of 19%. I ask you in your homes, if you had an opportunity to borrow at a low rate and have somebody give you 19%, you'd probably think, you know what, this is the right time to do it. We're being criticized right now because we built a convention center. Well, you should have done something else. St. John, Moncton, and Halifax right now, their number one priority is to try and catch us because they don't have one. Moncton just spent $6 million to buy a piece of property. They're so far from getting a convention center in those locations. So we have them. We invested in it at the right time for all the right reasons. This council has made it abundantly clear that we have an 8% cap on borrowing. Right now we're at 7.2%. That includes everything that we have. It's the lowest in the province. If this was your home, you would say, I'm satisfied. I think we've done it right. I think what we've done was very strategic. During the downtime, ladies and gentlemen, you'll remember the crane in Fredericton. I was so proud of that. And then when the second one popped up, I was ecstatic because the rest of the country and the rest of the world was feeling depressed and oppressed and things were so bad. And you know what? Those projects brought us through a difficult time by creating employment. And it had a psychological effect as well because people in this community felt good about the community they lived in. So 8 years ago, we could have said, you know what, we're not going to spend money on infrastructure. I would not want to be before this crowd today and say, you know what, I'm being criticized for doing nothing. But I don't mind being criticized for doing something. This community deserves nothing less than what we have. They've asked for it. We have responded. Those projects had months and months of stakeholder meetings. We wanted to know exactly what the people were looking for. And that's what we did. You'll remember on the Grand Harvey that we didn't have the Olympic-sized ice. Well, the stakeholders came forward and they made a wonderful presentation at City Hall. This council listened to them. And we changed. We don't profess to have all of the answers. We don't profess to be able to direct everything. We depend and rely on a community for input. And just about everything we do has input from the community, from the stakeholders, from the Chamber of Commerce, who every year presents to Council on what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, where our strengths are. When we put reports together, it's based on community input and community need. And now all of a sudden, there's an election campaign and people are saying, they don't listen to us. Not true. Do you think for a moment that I would be here running for my 8th term if I turned my back on the community, didn't respond to the community, didn't listen to the community? That's what it's all about. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm reoffering. It's not the Brad Woodside show. I am a leader with proven leadership and a passion to lead this city for the next 4 years. And I refer back to, I stand on my record, I'm proud to defend it, and it is one, I feel, that has served the residents of this city in a great way. Thank you.
I think actually that there are aspects of this record that you should be forced to defend. There are questions here that you should, I'm not saying that there are not answers to them, but I think that there are things that people are upset about, and for good reason. You mentioned the 7.2% debt ratio, but you failed to mention the fact that over the last 8 years, the operating budget has climbed 61%, which is far above what inflation has gone up. Now, if we had grown the operating budget at a rate that was in keeping with the inflation rate, there's no way we'd be under that 8% cap. So what you've relied on is population growth, which was spawned by the NRC in the city, increasing the assessments, and you haven't reduced the tax rate on people as those assessments have gone up, and you've done that in order to fund a capital spending program, which has brought some development to Fredericton. But I think we need to ask, who's going to benefit from that? You mentioned St. John, Halifax, being envious of our convention center. Well, I've been following the debate in Halifax about the convention center. And people there are saying, some people at least, are saying, we don't need another convention center. I actually don't understand why we would subsidize the building of a convention center that takes business away from private convention centers that were already being offered by other hotels in the Fredericton area. And I'm not convinced that the bookings for the convention center couldn't be taken up by the existing convention center infrastructure that is held in the private sector. So I have some questions about that. I don't think that that was a good use of public money. And I think it's pretty clear when you take a look at what other municipalities are doing. A lot of people are saying, well, you know, maybe this will benefit some people. Maybe it'll be a white elephant. We don't know. I hope that it doesn't become a white elephant, because now we've spent $34 million on this. So we'll have to see. In terms of the sports complexes, these are providing services that are going to serve our community well, no doubt. But there are other people now that are saying, look, we need to have a swimming pool. Right? There are lots of people recognizing that we need a swimming pool. I was talking the other day also to an indoor running track. There is no indoor running track. We're going to have to find capital monies for that as well. It seems as though the capital budget now has been spent. The only way we could possibly hope to build some of these other projects that are also priorities for our community and are going to be very important to our continued growth and to continuing to draw people into our community. The only way we're going to be able to do that now is to continue what we've been doing for the last 8 years, which is to grow the operating budget way out of proportion with the cost of inflation. And in an economic environment where there's no guarantee that that's going to be viable financially. So, I think that some of the pressure that you've been getting about this, Mr. Woodside, is just. I think you've got some questions to answer about it, and I'm not satisfied with an answer that just kind of says, I did what we were supposed to do, and at least we didn't do nothing. I think we need more than at least we didn't do nothing. What we need to do is act smartly. We need to have good ideas that bring forward the best possible infrastructure for our community, and that consults with people about what their priorities are. Not just consults about what size of ice surface we want, but that also talks about what sort of developments we want, what sort of neighborhoods we want. Thank you.
Unfortunately, our format is each person gets to respond, and then
At the end, you'll have time to maybe provide the other.
but isn't democracy fun? Isn't this good? We're getting a little bit tense here. That's good. That's good. Let's shake it off. We're halfway through. Okay. Question number 4. This is a long one. Get your pen ready. You might want to take some notes. This one, I couldn't remember this one. This one has 3 parts. It's in relation to population growth. Do you think the city should prioritize population growth as a key issue? If yes, so no, you're done. But if yes, what would you see as components of this plan? How do you suggest the city might work with post-secondary institutions, professional associations, and other organizations to encourage students, international and domestic, professionals and workers to stay in Fredericton beyond their degree or training programs? And finally, what role do you think immigration can play in growing the city's population base? When we get halfway through, I can repeat that if you want. Mr. Hayes, will you start this one?
Thanks. I think this is a really important issue, and it's not just about immigration, it's also about migration. And as someone who was born in Dalhousie, born in New Brunswick, and whose parents and grandparents are here from Fredericton, I feel very privileged, actually, to be able to return home. And I think that this is precisely the type of thing that we should be encouraging. And we should encourage also that when people come from away, when they come with different experiences and different backgrounds, regardless of whether they were born in New Brunswick or not, or whether they were born in Canada or not, we should listen to what those people have to offer our community in a variety of different facets. And, I think that's what this campaign has been about. I came back to New Brunswick in 2007. Brad has pointed out pretty consistently that, he was born here, he spent a lot of time here. I respect that. And I respect people who are born here too. And I know that they have a different experience of Fredericton than I do, as someone who was born in a small town in northern New Brunswick and who's been away, who's lived in other places and who's coming here. But I think that nonetheless, I have something to offer. And I think I've been demonstrating it over the course of this campaign, talking about ideas and issues. Mr. Woodside was quoted today as saying that he didn't think there were any issues in this election, which I found quite flabbergasted. I think there are a whole bunch of issues, and walking around Fredericton, getting to know parts of the city that I didn't know before, getting to know people that I didn't know before. I've been hearing about these issues. I've been hearing about problems of getting from one side of the city to the other in the bus, right? That if you work on Main Street, you better not live in Devon if you don't have a car. Right? I've been hearing about recycling and how people feel terrible about throwing out their glass jars, something that in every other city they've lived in, they don't have to do because they have glass recycling. I've been hearing about the treacherous walkability of sidewalks in the wintertime, which if we want to have a city that is more friendly for walkers and more friendly for seniors and that maintains an active, healthy lifestyle, particularly in old age, we need to do something about it. Right? So all of these things are issues. There's a whole bunch of other issues too that I've been hearing about. Taxes was one of them I just spoke about. The question specifically was about retaining, attracting and retaining skilled labor. Well, I think I offer a lot of skill sets in being able to help do that. Je peux communiquer avec toute la province. Je parle le français parce que j'ai grandi dans un contexte francophone dans le nord du Brunswick. Puedo hablar en español con la comunidad española que está aquí también. I can reach out to new immigrants. I have lived in other countries, and so I can understand what it's like for people from away to come here. And I know that can sometimes be a very difficult transition. And I've talked with people, particularly in the Spanish-speaking community here, about how they find it difficult to live here sometimes, and how they find it difficult to connect with people who have lived here for a long time. So I understand what some of the broader issues are in terms of attracting and retaining skilled workers, which is a really important issue for our economy. It's a really important issue for us to have if we're going to be a smart and sustainable city with an IT sector, for instance, with a green job sector, it's really important that we have people who are coming here from other cities, people who are coming here from away, and who want to live in Fredericton, who find it exciting to live in the community that we have. And I think that there are aspects of our community that people are really excited about. And then there are other things that we need to move forward on. And I'd be committed to moving forward on some of those issues. I'd be committed to consulting and working with other members of the community, working with members of the Chamber of Commerce, to making sure that we have an economy, that we have a city that is attractive not only to investment that's coming in from away, but also for people who want to come and live their lives. And in many respects we have, in large part thanks to work that Mr. Woodside has done. We have a lot to build on, but we have a ways to go.
This is such an interesting question because it posed a question to me at a Chamber of Commerce debate, just like this, 8 years ago. And the question was about immigration. And is it important? And what do you plan on doing about it? And ladies and gentlemen, I don't have very many questions that are asked that I can't respond to. But that was one of them. I always thought immigration is something that is a responsibility of somebody else, not somebody at the local level. But I left that debate and committed to myself that I would not only learn about immigration, I would not only walk the walk, but I would talk the talk. So when I'm able to come back and reoffer, you know that I listened to that debate, because I've shown it as a priority to this community. Now, the question was all about population. If I was reoffering for mayor and it was -2, it would be over before it starts. But it's 10.3. As I said in my opening comments, that's more than St. John and Moncton combined. When you're from Fredericton, that kind of a statement makes you feel real good, makes you feel real proud. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning I had 6 people from Vietnam in my office. Every person who visits from China, Vietnam, or South Korea comes into the mayor's office. I shake hands with them. I treat them like they've never been treated before. That's not how they're treated in the countries that they come from. And I tell them consistently, as I did to the Vietnamese this morning, I said, if you are successful, I will be successful. I have gone to China many times. I have gone to South Korea many times. And when I go over, I extol the virtues, the virtues of our country, of our province, and of our city. And as a result, if you take a walk downtown in the last 8 years, you'll notice something a little bit different. You'll notice that there are people here from other parts and other places around the world. How do I know that? Because I've met most of them. I've met most of them. So yes, it is important. And I have made it my mission. And I want to make this very clear as well. My trips to China, my trips to South Korea cost the taxpayers nothing but my time. If they want me, then they pay the expenses. That's the way it has been. So I'm over promoting our city. I'm bringing people here. I'm meeting them here when they come here, and I encourage them with the Chamber of Commerce mentorship program. I mean, I told the Premier I can bring them here, but we've got to have a plan to keep them here. Retention is extremely important. That's why Eric McGarity chairs the committee for me to look after immigration. That's why the Chamber of Commerce and Enterprise Fredericton approached the City of Fredericton for this new position, and we said yes, it's important. So when the 10.3% comes out, and that's how much we've grown, that just didn't happen. It didn't just fall in our lap. People are coming here for a reason. They're coming here because they like what they see. They're coming here because they like the community. They are coming here because of the fullness of community that we have. And our recreational facilities are second to none. And for those that can't make it, we have a walking trail system which is over 60 kilometers long, and the public said, and we listened and we paved. I took, and council took a lot of criticism for that. I never backed down, and there will be more trails paved. So mothers with strollers, and people with disabilities, and older folks can get out and enjoy the beauty of the trails in this city. That didn't just happen. It's been an evolution of a lot of great decisions by a lot of council and councillors who have committed and dedicated themselves to the betterment of our community. And it has happened because of the response that we've got from the people who live here. That's what we do. That's the local level of politics. This is a great community. And you will see people from different parts of the world. That makes us richer. So you don't have to travel to see other people's culture, their history, their heritage. You can take it in right here, because I do it. At the Chinese New Year, I do it with the Iranian Association, the Saudi Arabia Association, the Korean Association. They packed the Playhouse. They didn't just find us on a map. We told them about this community and how great it is. And we said, we want you to be a part of it. And it's happened.
Thank you. Now, question number 5, which is in relation to crime. In a recent Money Sense article, Fredericton ranked number 103 out of 170 communities for crime. Are you concerned with Fredericton's crime rate? If so, how would you work to address it? What's that?
Not Money Sense magazine again. They're also the one that rated us as the 6th best community to live in Canada, consistently in the top 10. So yes, we are the number 6 community in Canada to live, and there's going to be some things in that article that isn't just perfect. We accept that. That's a great question on crime, and we had the advantage from the Chamber of Commerce of giving us the questions and what was going to be asked. So rather than respond off the top, I thought I would present you with the statistical facts. To answer the question, yes, we are always concerned about crime. Yes, we are always concerned about people in the community and that their houses have been broken into, that their property is being destroyed, that people are stealing from your cars. Yes, these are issues. And we are all concerned. We try and do the best we can. When Mr. Hayes talks about what the budget was 8 years ago or 10 years ago, what it is now, it's because we have police officers and firefighters and we have recreational facilities. Of course, the budget has gone up. So has the community. But we're averaging $100 million a year in construction. Here are the 2011 year-end statistical reports. that were presented at the Public Safety Committee in the presence of all of the media and the public. The number of criminal code incidents declined for the third consecutive year. Violent crime down. Crime reduction strategy instrumental in a 31% decrease in property damage cases. That's a crime reduction strategy. That's being proactive, dealing with a situation that it is an issue to the public that we want to try and solve. Robberies, down 45% over the 5-year average. Traffic accidents resulting in injuries decline for the 5th consecutive year. Pedestrian accidents remain a concern. This is the information that was given to us at the Public Safety Committee. If anybody was there, this was a few weeks ago, if anybody was there when we talked about the stats, I was the one that asked the police force to go into every ward and every community in this city and take with you your portable radar and stop the speeding in our communities that are endangering our children. That was done a few weeks ago. That is a result of what I saw on my street. What you see on your street is people driving too quickly, with little children playing in their front yards or their driveways. The police get a lot of criticism. Charles, turn your camera off. I stand by our police force. I stand by this police force. They provide a great level of service. They clear their crimes. I have said publicly, and Mr. LeBlanc knows this, that I disagreed with our police force when they gave a third-party ticket based on a complaint from another citizen. It shouldn't have happened to Charles LeBlanc, and it shouldn't happen to anybody else. I made that clear. However, I do support our Fredericton police force. They work extremely hard. We don't talk a whole lot about the life-saving, about the heroics that take place. We don't talk about what our police officers do in their spare time, coaching hockey teams and being a part of the community. We seem to dwell on whenever there's a problem that all of a sudden it's painted with the whole brush. That's not the case. We've got a great police force. They do serve. They do protect. And they're dealing with people that are not the greatest people in the world to deal with. So as you are going home and perhaps get stopped and they don't seem to be very good, you got to realize who they talk to before you. You got to realize that they're out on the beat protecting the service and protecting the people of Fredericton, and they are stopping and talking to people that abuse them physically, psychologically, socially, and they spit on them. It is not a pleasant job, and it's difficult to go in and do that job and go home to your families. The police force in this community and every other community deserves the respect and the support of our community. Yes, you're going to find something wrong. Yes, somebody's going to make a mistake. That's human nature. That's who we are. We all do the same thing. But on balance, as I've said in every other debate, I support our police force. We work on crime. We do have the lowest crime rate in the province of New Brunswick. I know people get here tired of hearing that because they don't want to compare us to this place or that place. I'm proud of that fact. One of the reasons why people come here, we promote the fact that we have the lowest crime rate in the province. That means a lot to people. So those statistics bear the facts. And they're the latest that we have available. And they came out after Money Sense magazine. So you know what? Next year when Money Sense magazine comes out, we'll be better than number 6. Because we're addressing some of the concerns. Whenever we take criticism, we don't shut it aside.
Well, I guess there are several different things that I'd like to say about this. The first is that we've spent a lot of time kind of building the infrastructure. We've built a couple of community police stations on the south and north sides. But one of the principles of community policing is foot patrols. And I think that is something that, in talking to people in Fredericton and business owners in the downtown area, is something that's needed. We need to have more foot patrols in the downtown area, particularly during the summer, and particularly as the bars empty out on the weekends. I think that's something actually that's really important to kind of leveling. You know, people see a police car and they react very differently than they do when they see a police officer who perhaps they've already talked to on another occasion in a social manner, right? So I think that that's something that's really important to foster. I think that's one good idea, for instance, for moving forward on a crime and justice piece. Also, you know, a lot of criminal code offenses might be going down, but one in particular is going up that I think in Fredericton we need to pay really close attention to, and that's sexual harassment and sexual assault. That actually is not going down. It's going up. And I think that this says something about it's really important to live in a city, if you're a woman, to live in a city where you feel comfortable walking home after dark. And not all women in the city that I've talked to feel comfortable walking home alone after dark. That's something I think that needs to be worked on. So part of that, I think, is the city drawing attention to and drawing awareness to sexual harassment. And I think, and I've done this in the university as well, drawing attention as a man, drawing attention to other men that we need to be talking about sexual assault. Because most of the sexual assault is men against women. So what is it that happens in our culture, that makes it possible for so many men to be engaged in antisocial activities? I don't think it's just a matter of deviant individuals. Oftentimes, and people will know from their own experience, right? Oftentimes, it's people being in situations where they're reading them the way that they think the culture is that they think they're supposed to be reading it in a particular way, and they're acting inappropriately, right? So that I think is a really important piece of dealing with crime. Graffiti and vandalism, which is something that I've been hearing a lot about. I was talking to a neighbor of mine, a friend of mine, the other day, who was saying, I'm really
getting the point that they're in here, so I guess I get to kind of draw these out and randomly. So I don't know what I'm going to draw. I apologize if you don't like it. These have been screened, all right? Oh, they're handwritten. This could be fun. How can the city work with others to work on providing more affordable housing for all?
Grammar wasn't great there, but you get the gist.
I'll jump right in on that one. And that's a very good question, and it's an important question for this community and every other community. Once again, during the last 8 years, as the record clearly indicates, and as Mike, I hope Mike O'Brien is still here tonight.
No, he's gone.
He's gone. Mike O'Brien has represented the City of Fredericton on the Affordable Housing Board. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been a number of occasions at City Council when there were proposals for affordable housing, when the community came forward to say to their councillors, it's going to bring our property values down. It's going to cause increased crime in our neighborhoods. It was a not in my backyard syndrome. And that was unfortunate. And it happened time after time. This council stood its ground, appreciating the fact that we have to have different kinds of housing in our city. There has to be affordable housing. There has to be an opportunity for a person on the street to be in a home and have a cover over their head. So there has been great examples and successes of affordable housing in our city, built in different places in our city. It was a smart thing to do, and we continue to do it. We have brought a consultant in to look at all the properties that we own to be able to make property available for affordable housing. I think we've done a good job. I think Mike O'Brien's done an outstanding job. And we have involved the development community and convinced them that it's not just building for the sake of increasing your profit margins, but you can also build the percentage of what you're doing and provide affordable housing and make our community a much better place for all those that live here. So we've done that, and I think Mike's done a great job. And I think if you talk to those in the affordable housing sector and those that I visited that have these, for the first time, homes, they have an entire different outlook on life. They have promise. They have something that they can look forward to, which they never had before. I'm a very strong advocate of affordable housing. And I'm a very strong advocate of putting affordable housing in all different places in the city and not all in one spot. Thank you.
I think also we need to be very mindful of the types of neighborhoods that we're building and the types of housing that we're putting into these communities. You know, we have a history of housing in this country that focuses on the needs of middle-class individuals and doesn't necessarily think about lower income people or people on fixed incomes. And although we've had a run where people have done very well, seniors, for instance, have enjoyed pretty good living standards, pretty high income for a long time. A lot of baby boomers that I know and talk to are worried about their retirement and are actually, many of them, living on low income now as a result of having lost money in the stock market collapse or as a result of being on fixed incomes and seeing more and more of their savings eaten up by increasing costs of living. You know, one of the problems on this issue, I think, is that we live in a country where inequality is growing. The municipal government doesn't have a lot that it can do to change income distribution in this country. We can, when we have the opportunity, speak about how unjust unequal income distribution is. But I think that at the municipal level, there are a number of things that we can do. Mr. Woodside talked about Mike O'Brien's work. You know, Mike O'Brien has done a lot of great work on affordable housing. Has been well recognized. The mayor himself has made some contributions in this direction. But there are some things that are not being done. One in particular is if we take a look at the shelters in Fredericton, which receive no municipal support at all. There are a lot of people in the shelters, actually, who could be in affordable housing if the services were provided to get them there. Right? If there were places in affordable housing to get them there, and if they had adequate help to transition from shelters to, and there are a variety of complex cases around this. The city has said housing is not our issue. It's the province's issue. Well, I think shelters are our issue. I think that if we just take a look at it from a public safety vantage point, there is sufficient reason to participate in, to provide money for the shelter, basically, for a rapid rehousing initiative. And we can push the province on this. This is good, actually. It's good value for money, because as a report recently released showed. When you provide people with a home, right, when you move them from the shelter or off the street, you immediately reduce a whole bunch of other complicated things that happen in their lives that end up costing the public money. 911 calls, right? Emergency room visits. Right? These are not necessarily things that just save money for the municipality, for Fredericton, right? But they also save money for the city of Fredericton. And they're good for the community generally. So I think that one thing that we need to do as a city is play a more active role in providing for shelters and to make that part of an affordable housing strategy where it's appropriate. And to continue to look at building neighborhoods, right, and particularly designing, good urban planning, designing neighborhoods that provide for a variety of different housing types. And we've done this to some extent. I was out on Silverwood recently, and I saw a really interesting development that had several different housing sizes on the same street. But it was in Silverwood. Right? The only way you could live out there is if you have a car, which people on low income, at $1.40 a liter, are having a harder time maintaining. So we need to be thinking about that as well. We need to be thinking about urban transit as an important aspect of this for people on low income.
questions in here. And it just struck me that we thank the candidates that are debating here. We've thanked all the candidates for council. Let's thank the citizens that come out for this. Who's not going to clap when I see that? Okay, another I randomly selected. What role should the city play in immigration with regard to settlement, retention, and inclusion? This is similar to one of the questions we had earlier. Maybe we'll try another one.
Yeah. Does anyone want to add anything, maybe?
Whoever wrote that, very good penmanship.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. We haven't really touched on this one yet. What role should the city play in promoting the city as a destination for events?
Build a convention center. You can't have it both ways. You can't be out promoting events and not have the venues to be able to serve those that you're trying to attract. Just last week it was announced, just last week, the city of Fredericton will host the World Mixed Doubles and the World Seniors Curling Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a big deal. That's going to bring a lot of people to this city. That's going to fill our hotel rooms. That's going to fill our restaurants. That's going to have people in the retail sector doing business. Why? Because we have the Grant Harvey. We build these facilities for local use, and it enables our folks to go out and sell provincially and sell nationally. When we sell the convention center, which we do, and we bring a lot of conferences, and Mr. Hayes says that it takes away from business in the city, not right, not correct. The hotels in this community, with the exception of one, supported all that we've done with the convention center. We put the public proposal call out so the hotels could be involved. We don't want to take business away from our hotels. We want to bring business in to fill our hotels. The Delta has partnered with the city of Fredericton. They're the ones that are providing the food for the conferences. At the same time, they're providing the beds for those that are coming in. It's a great marriage. It's a great relationship. It would be very difficult to go out. Right now, when people are looking at conferences, Lori is here, she's always all about this in economic development. When they look at conferences, they look at facilities. And it means something that you have an environmentally LEED building. We have that in the Fredericton Convention Center. It costs us a little more money, and we could be criticized for that. But that's sustainability. That's paying attention to the environment. That gives us an edge over somebody that has a convention center that doesn't have it. Because a lot of people now, when they're going to their conferences and conventions, are demanding it. So once again, we're ahead of the curve. But that's a wonderful question. We feel in this community that bringing organizations and groups and sporting events into the city. We've hosted national events last year. We're hosting national events this year. Now we're into world events. We've got the largest indoor tennis facility east of Montreal. That's going to attract a lot of people. That's going to attract a lot of visitors. Well, you know something? If 8 years ago we decided we're not going to do any of that, then we wouldn't even be talking about the World Curling Championship. We wouldn't be talking about the Pharmaceutical Association of Canada selecting Fredericton to come here with 500 people. We wouldn't even be talking about that. So you see, when we look at what we're doing with infrastructure, it's not just for our people, it's to create an opportunity for people to come in and to participate and to have a good time. And up until the infrastructure investments were done in this community, we didn't have anything that we could go to attract people and conferences and conventions. And to this very day, I'm still being asked by people who live here, build something bigger so we can have the same kinds of conventions they have and the same music shows in St. John and in Moncton. And I said, you know what, St. John's not that far a drive. It's a lot better that it's there. If you want to see the entertainment, it's just as short to drive there as it is in Ottawa to go and see the Senators play. Getting back to my point, we're 750,000 people. Not everybody wants a community that has a facility that holds 10,000 people where Garth Brooks is going to sing because he's not coming to all those communities. So it's a nice little drive. St. John's not a bad place. But you know what? It's the investment in infrastructure that caused that question to happen. which causes me to respond, that's precisely one of the reasons we did it. And you know what? Those that are in the hotel business, those that are in the retail sector business, those that are in the restaurant business are the beneficiaries of the decision to do this and invest this money in infrastructure.
I think in terms of promoting our city, I mean, this also ties into attracting and retaining skilled workers. It's not just about tourists. Obviously, the tourism sector is a really important economic engine for the city. You know, people will say different things about some of the infrastructure that we've built. For some, the convention center, for instance, will be a boon. For others, it's going to be a heavy weight. My sense is that if we had had an open, transparent process, asking citizens in the city what they would have liked to have spent their money on, I don't think that they would have chosen a convention center. Maybe I'm wrong, but we didn't have that type of a process. I think that you know, in terms of having venues for events, we're not just talking about venues for events from people from away. We're talking also about venues for events that happen in our everyday lives. Right? So, for instance, the swimming pool that we don't have. I think also we're talking about, you know, we're talking about the festivals. We're talking about, you know, one of the things about the festivals, and I think that there are different people in Fredericton, some possibly working with the city, but a number of people that I've been talking to in the city know that, you know, we do a really good job of creating community during the summer, during the tourism season. What about year-round? Right? Of course, a year-round tourist destination, Fredericton has some significant challenges to being a year-round tourist destination. But in terms of creating a community that retains and attracts people to our community, right? So in terms of being able to speak to promote our community, what are some of the other things that we're doing? Right? I think that we're doing really good work here, and the city's involved in some of it, but I think that we could be doing more. And I'd be really interested in participating in creating a more vibrant arts and culture scene in the city. So yeah, that's those are some of the ideas that I think would be useful for promoting the city. And again, I think that you know, putting all the emphasis on people who are coming from away takes away from attracting people who want to stay here for more than just a few nights or a few weeks.
There's a little bit of time left, so if you don't mind, I mean, we should have a little more of a little debate going back and forth here, because there's like shots being taken, and I'm sitting here and I can't respond.
Well, actually, Grant, we're about to do the final comments, so we'll be able to rebuttal here in a second. I'm going to let Matt go first, though, because the last two questions you started, so we'll let Matt start with the closing comment.
I've got 5 minutes.
You've got 5 minutes.
Look, I think that we live in a great city. We've got a lot of things going for us. We've got a dynamic economy in some respects. We can continue to build on that. I look forward to working with people to make that happen. I think that it's really important that the Mayor's Office set the tone for the city. I think it's really important that the Mayor's Office provide leadership and, most importantly, vision for where we're going as a city. What are some of the challenges that we need to face? You know, one of the things in the business community that's really important is reacting to outside forces over which we have no control. Well, there are a lot of outside forces that we're facing today that we need to react to. And I think having someone in the Mayor's Office who understands some of those and who is able to work with people and think about innovative solutions to those, and who's able to connect with people from different backgrounds would be an asset to the city. Now, I think Mr. Woodside has done a good job as mayor. He's done a reasonably good job. I disagree with many of the decisions that he's taken, but I respect the work that he's done, and I respect you know, the support that he has in the community from people that he's represented over the years. But I think that it's time for new ideas and a new conversation about the future of the city, and that's what this campaign has been about. It's been about talking about where we could go, how we could be better, recognizing that we're already a really great place, recognizing that people want to live here, but talking also about the possibilities, right? Talking about the possibilities of the future. So not just, Mr. Woodside is running on his record, and he ran on his record last time. And he ran on his record the time before that. I think it's important that we have leadership that's capable of looking forward into the future and is able to articulate a vision of where we can be as a city. And I look forward to providing that leadership after May 14th. Thank you very much.
Are you close enough? Matthew, it sounded almost like you're going to vote for me.
I respect you a lot, Brad. I'm not going to vote for you, but you can still work on me if you want to.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. I want to thank the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce. This has been a pretty civil debate, and it was last night. And I think that really is what Fredericton is all about and expects. Civility. And it's very easy sometimes for me to get a little bit carried away. And I'm not going to do that. I have my wife sitting there, she's glaring at me. I want to pay tribute to my wife, Ann. We talk about my longevity. She's been our First Lady for a long, long time. And it's one thing for me to go to all the banquets and eat all the chicken. But it's another thing for her to do it. And for 29 years as my wife, she's stood by my side. She has done so eloquently and with a great deal of class and represented, I think, the people of Fredericton in a great way. And Ann, I want to thank you. There's not really a whole lot I can say that hasn't already been said without repeating ourselves. Matthew, when you talk about I ran on my record the last time, and I ran on my record the last time, and I ran on my record, you know what? I put all my faith and I put all of my trust into the people of Fredericton when they go to the ballot box. You can't be elected and re-elected and pull the wool over people's eyes. We have an intelligent electorate. You can get away with it once. Maybe you can get away with it twice if you're in provincial politics. But you know something, ladies and gentlemen? You can't get away with it at the local level. Because the people that you think you're fooling are the people that you're talking to every day. Yes, I am very proud of the fact, Matthew, that I was born and raised here, and I don't mean that as a slight to you. I know you're a New Brunswick boy, and you were raised in Dalhousie, and that's a great place. What we have going for us here is, this is Atlantic Canada. This is Fredericton. This is a special place. This is a great place to live, to raise a family, and retire. For all of the reasons that both of your candidates for mayor are suggesting this evening. It's always said that, and I truly admire you, Matthew, for getting involved. I mean, you've only been here for 4 or 5 years, but to put your name forward and to come forward, and, that's not an easy thing to do. And as I said today to the CBC, I admire you for that. But you know something, what you're looking for and what I'm looking for is precisely the same thing. We want our community to be the best it can be. We want to work and strive for those issues that you talk about that are just as important to me. And on May the 14th, I'm asking for the people that have supported me in this community as their mayor, who I think do recognize the fact that it comes from the heart, and it comes with a great deal of passion. And it does say that the community is a better place. Fredericton is a better place than it was 8 years ago. We have been profitable. We have grown. We have reduced our crime rate. And I've grown as mayor. I'm a better mayor today than I was 8 years ago. I've matured into the position. There's very few people in this city that I don't know or that I haven't met on a one-on-one basis. There's not a whole lot of people in this city that I haven't worked with. I can't run for election as mayor and leave anything to somebody's imagination, This is too important a time. You have to have a lot of trust and faith in your leader. I bring out the best that I can bring out in my councils, and they have been great. I've had the pleasure and the honor of working with them. You don't hear in Fredericton, but you hear in other communities. We work together as a council, as a community, as we've shown many times with the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce. If I didn't live here, I would move here. And I'm glad I was born here, and I'm glad that I probably will stay the rest of my life here, and I had an opportunity to leave. But I have traveled the world, and that makes me enjoy and love this community even more.
So on behalf of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce and the Municipal Affairs Committee, I'd like to personally thank Brad Woodside and Matthew Hayes for your participation tonight. I'd like to thank you, Mark, for helping your committee, your chamber, out when we asked you to. Can we please give the candidates a round of applause? Just 1 second to thank all the council candidates that came out this evening. We really appreciate that as the Municipal Affairs Committee. And best of luck to all of you in the remainder of your campaigns. Good evening, everyone.